You are listening to On The Flythe.
What's up, guys? On the Fly's back again, and today we start a new series with my buddy over here, Mr. Joe Decker. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great, Stevie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good. We're recording. We're not live today. Sorry about that, but we had to record kind of early today, so I didn't think anybody would be up on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock when we're recording. So no need to do that. But anyway. Today we start a series. We're going to start, guys, like maybe once, twice a month, going through artists, and we're going to go through their whole discography, one artist at a time. We're not going to try to make it too complicated. And as big a Kiss fans as you are, yeah, you guys will probably figure, hey, they're going to start with Kiss. No, we're not going to start with Kiss. No, we would be doing this forever. We decided to start with Ozzy Osbourne. And you can tell by Joe's background back there what album we'll start with. We're going to start with Bark at the Moon.
Bark at the Moon.
What we're going to do is go through each album, and we're going to rank them as we do we're going to do the review, and we're going to rank them in order of how we like them. Then when we get through, we'll have a final rank. And then we'll do like our top 10 songs of Ozzy Osbourne after we finish all that. Now, this is studio albums. We're not doing live albums.
Right.
So, and I guess everybody figured, well, why didn't they just start at the beginning with Blizzard? Well, what we want to be different. We want to move. We're going to dance around a little bit. And Bark at the Moon was wow. I mean, you think about it, this is a monumental time for Ozzy. This is a make or break time. You just lost your virtuoso guitar player, Randy Rhoads, tragically. You're going through who knows what with depression, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. On top of that, with losing like what he said was his best friend. You're kind of wondering, does Ozzy make it back or anything? Does he even do anything anymore? But obviously that we didn't have anything to worry about. Bark at the Moon comes out November 18th, 1983, his third studio album. So you had Blizzard, you had Diary, and then this was coming off Diary, which was, we'll get to that eventually too. All of these albums we'll get to. And the replacement, these are big shoes to fill. And you're wondering who in the world would they get to replace Randy Rhoads? How are they going to move on from Randy Rhoads? And they find a guy. I guess he had some ties to Rat, ties to Rough Cut, Jake E. Lee. Initially, what's your thoughts on Jake E. Lee coming out? Had you heard of Jake E. Lee before he joined Ozzy?
I had, and like you'd mentioned, I was and still am a huge Randy Rhoads fan. He is between him and Ace Frehley. Those are the reasons that as a 14-year-old kid, I picked up a guitar. Like we talked before, those Randy and Ace were my top two guitar players. Still are my top two guitar players of all time, for different reasons. So just like you'd said, Ozzy has really had a wonderful knack for getting guitar players. To land a guy like Randy Rhoads, a virtual unknown, as he's coming off this career with Black Sabbath and the whole history of how that thing went down, and then to land this young 24-year-old kid from Santa Monica, who literally took his career to the next level, and to only get 2 albums out of him is such a shame. But I just want to mention real quickly too, the in between. Being Speak of the Devil. Okay, it's a live album, all old Sabbath songs, and like I think I've mentioned to you before, I was not a Black Sabbath fan. And matter of fact, what sounds even crazier, other than the big songs, the Paranoid, Iron Man, the big ones, I didn't have any familiarity with the Black Sabbath catalog at all until Speak of the Devil. Matter of fact, when I got that double live album, which is really hard to find these days, I didn't know they were old Sabbath songs, and I'll tell you, Brad Gillis, what a pick that was, for.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy on that album puts on a guitar clinic. He is just insanely on fire. And I believe between Randy and even before Brad came, there was another guy named Bernie Torme who, from what I've heard, tried to tour and he just couldn't handle the pressures of the backlash from the Randy fans who just were not accepting of him, whatsoever. So, like you said, okay, so here comes Bark at the Moon. What was it, December 83? Something like that, I think it was.
November 83.
Okay. I remember that album coming out so clearly. Those were back in the days of Circus Magazine and Hit Parader Magazine and the ads and knowing it's going to drop. And we had an idea it was going to drop. And my best friend at the time, we had gone to the local record store and we were both buying copies of the album. We both had the album in our hand. And I'll never forget going to pay for them. And the dude behind the counter is like, why are you guys both buying the same album? He's like, why don't you buy different albums and then just buy a cassette and record? Then you get two albums for the price of one. And we looked at each other like, that's brilliant. Like, I don't think either one of us knew you could even do that at the time, So that's what we did. And the other album he picked up, I'll never forget it, was Merciful Fate, Melissa. Was the album he picked up. So we walk out of there with, Bark at the Moon and A Merciful Fate, two for the price of one. But like you said, Jakey Lee, I'd never heard of him. I might be having a false memory, but I think I remember reading before the album came out who the guitar player was going to be. And like you'd said, had ties to Rat and Rough Cut. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember. Because I don't know the exact date Out of the Cellar came out. Was Rat even a thing yet? Because that may not even have been a band that I even recognized as being who the hell's Rat. I know their EP dropped, but that thing, I never heard that EP until after Out of the Cellar. So Rat was an unknown to me.
Rat. Okay. Now the early years, they were called something else. They were in 73. Rat goes back to 73.
No. Wow.
Yeah, but they were in a different name. The EP drops, let's see, in 83.
Okay.
So, and then Out of the Cellar, it comes like
I want to think 84, right?
Out of the Cellar comes out in February of 84. So
okay, yeah. So if I had read an article about Jakey Lee, Rat would have meant nothing to me at that point in time, and Rough Cut definitely would have meant nothing to me at that point in time.
And obviously Jake still had a good relationship with the members of Rat because he's in the Back for More video. And, not the Back for More. He's in the You Think You're Tough video, and Ozzy's in there too. So,
wow, I don't even remember. I'll have to watch that later on. I don't remember that at all. That's
there's a lot. I remember I got the Rat home video. I guess I got for Christmas one year, and it had all the videos on it. And remember watching it and seeing there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of guys in that video. You Think You're Tough video, and then of course, Back for War's got Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx playing the cops and stuff like that. I think there's
that I remember. Oh, okay, now it's coming back to me. Okay,
yeah, that was Back for War. But first album for Jakey Lee, the only studio album for Tommy Aldridge. Of course, there's the big cloud that hangs over Bark at the Moon about the writing credits. Jake and Tommy and who was the other guy in there?
Rob Beasley.
But yeah, they all say that Ozzy barely wrote anything there. And Jake even said, he signed a contract to be paid. And one of the stipulations was that it would go on the album, all songs written by Ozzy Osbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not around Ozzy. I don't know. I love Ozzy, but I don't think Ozzy wrote all of this by himself.
Well, no, and as we'll get into as we go through the tracks, I mean, Ozzy's not writing those guitar riffs. Ozzy's not writing those bass lines. I'll give him the lyrics sometimes, but I know that Bob Daisley was also not only a brilliant bass player, but also a really good lyricist and could just
Yeah.
just write. And like you said, this lineup of Ozzy, I think this is the lineup that was firing on all cylinders. You take Jake, Tommy Aldridge, Don Airey, Bob Daisley, then Ozzy. It's like this is the quintessential. Besides the Randy lineup, I think the best one he's ever had.
And then, I mean, but you look at it with Aldridge,
Mm-hmm.
Common Apathy
Yep.
on the Bark of the Moon video.
Yeah, exactly.
Evidently, Carmine didn't get along with Sharon too well, from what I'm hearing.
That seems to be the case for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into it. There's a lot of Sharon that I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
when we get into this. So myself, and you remember, everybody thinks about the Suicide Solution.
Yep.
But this album actually had a little controversy itself. Uh, after the release in '83, a Canadian man named James Jollimoore murdered a woman and her two children after allegedly listened to the album.
Wow.
Of course, you had the satanic panic back then. The media and Christian groups, all of them said that this album was satanic and it influenced him to do it. He would, and this is at the same time that Ozzy's facing the Suicide Solution lawsuit with that fan that committed suicide, and their parents were saying that was what caused him to commit suicide, which is, I don't know what kind of I listen to a lot of music. You listen to a lot of music. There's a lot of different things that come on, meanings that come on music, but none of them have influence. Like Motley Crue, "You're All I Need."
Mm-hmm.
Listen to that hundreds of times, but I've never thought about going and killing my wife or my girlfriend or anything like that. Right. I mean, there's something, no offense, but there's something missing up here when you say that influenced you to do something like that. There's more to the story than a song.
Agreed. And that's always been my contention too. Well, let's face it, music is emotional. I mean, that's why we listen to it, because it at least for me, it emotes certain feelings out of me and pulls things out of me. I mean, a song can literally break your heart with one note if it's placed correctly, but to think that, a song could push you to the point of hurting yourself or hurting somebody else. I mean, I could be wrong about this too, but wasn't the Beatles song Helter Skelter like a motivating factor for the Manson family? I can't connect those dots. I never could. I mean, I'm old enough to remember all that stuff going on real time back in the 80s when Ozzy was being sued. Judas Priest was being sued. I forget the song, but they were getting sued for something as well.
Gosh, what was that song that they were getting sued for?
I forget. I think it was Offspring for Vengeance because I don't think Defenders was out yet. But they're getting sued for stuff like that, and it's like, none of these artists. I mean, maybe not none, but that's not their intention. Their intention is to provide people with a product that they can love and enjoy and own and make it their own. And pull some feelings out of us, but not to the detriment of themselves or anybody else around them. So that stuff always that stuff bothered me then, and it bothers me now.
Yeah, "Better by You, Better Than Me" was the song, and that's actually a cover song. A English rock band called Spooky Tooth did it originally, and Judas Priest did it a little faster. That was let's see, the lawsuit against Judas Priest was saying that the band's recording contained hidden messages which were responsible for influencing a pair of young men in Sparks, Nevada to make a suicide pact in 1985. The case was eventually dismissed. And that seemed to be the trend back then with that whole satanic panic thing. I remember an album or a cassette. There was a guy that came and spoke at my school. I think was his name Albert Long? Anyway, he went around and did talks like that, but he did a whole cassette on subliminal messages, and I listened to it a lot
Mhm.
just to hear what he was talking about.
Mhm.
But that didn't stop me from listening to that kind of music. He played the stuff backwards. He talked about um, it was that Electric Light Orchestra song was one of them that he played backwards, and then he talked about Stairway to Heaven,
Yep.
and there was one where he said, I can't remember the group's name, but he said they were saying Satan backwards, and
I think that was Stairway. Because a music teacher I had in the 7th grade, I recall correctly, he kind of gone down that path as well, and he not only would bring in records and just literally spin them with his finger backwards, but then he taught us how to make a cassette player play a cassette backwards by opening it up and flipping this little head in there. That if
really?
you turn, yeah, if you turn that over, it would play the thing in reverse. I remember him messing around with Stairway to Heaven, some song by Styx, which I thought was preposterous because Styx was like, you know, but there's a line in Stairway to Heaven where I remember very, very clearly where it says something like, Satan, oh my sweet Satan,
I got it right here. I got it right here. It says, "Here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path would make me sad. He'll give you 666. There was a little tool shed where he made us suffer. Sad Satan."
the only backward masking message that I've ever heard that was crystal clear was done by intent to kind of like mock the people who were doing this, and that's the intro to a song called Still Life on Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden. When you play that backwards, it says, "Don't mess with things you don't understand." Yes. Don't mess with things you don't understand. Yeah.
This will be a future episode right here. Talking about this stuff.
Yeah, we should do some research on that and really compile some stuff, and that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, but and going back, I know we got off track for a minute. Going back to Carmine Apathy,
Yeah.
Ozzy said he was released for health reasons, and they asked him what kind of health reason. He was making me sick, is what. So, yeah, I guess him and Carmine didn't get along too well. Yeah, but this album, we're doing the original release, which is 8 songs.
Yep.
It's, I guess the vinyl came out 4 on side 1, 4 on side 2.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, of course, the what Spiders in the Night is one, and then one up the B side, something like that is a 2022 reissue. But we decided just to do the 8. And what we're going to do when we rank them, Joe came up with this idea, and I think it's a great idea. Instead of waiting to the end to rank our top 8, we're going to start off with like Bark at the Moon. And of course, that's going to start out at 1. And then when we get to the next song, we'll rank that, and we'll go from there. We'll rank them as we go, which is a great idea. It makes it a little harder on you as far as thinking about it, but in a way, it's easier. It's easier.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start off.
All right.
Set the self-titled track, opening track. Great way to kick off the album. Bark at the Moon. And let me say, the opening riff, when you hear that opening riff, and it's like, holy crap. What a great way to introduce Jakey Lee. He has always been well, first, let me say about getting into Bark at the Moon. I had to go backwards to get in Bark at the Moon. I started my Ozzy time with Ultimate Sin, and luckily a good friend of my brother's, his best friend in high school, had Bark at the Moon, and he let me borrow it, and I played it, and I was like, okay, I'm an Ozzy fan. So, yeah, I'm an Ozzy fan. So that way I started going all over the place. And, as a kid, though, it was like, are we really supposed to listen to Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne when you before you hit teenage years? Because this was like, wow, I was like, what year did Ultimate Sin come out? Like 85, 86? Maybe I was on the verge of being a teenager, but I was like, am I supposed to like this Ozzy Osbourne music? Am I going to turn into the devil or something like that for watching this? Because the first video I saw was Shot in the Dark, where the girl turns into a demon. So,
yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the opening riff, it's just a driving song, and Ozzy's voice. People talk about Ozzy, but Ozzy's voice fits perfect with the song. What's your initial thoughts, Joe?
Just like you said, it's like, hey world, get ready. Well, here introducing Mr. Jakey Lee. That opening riff is so iconic and so memorable, and the second you hear it, you know exactly what it is. And then what a great opening track. It's probably one of the best opening tracks you'll ever hear on any album at any given time. Unmistakable. I'm with you 1,000%. I think Ozzy sounds incredible on this song. The production is amazing. And this is a guitar solo that I can hear in my head right now because I've heard it so many times. Like I can hear the whole thing just playing right out. Not only the solo in the song, but then the outro is just like stellar, and it's just, to me, it almost hits as hard as, like, I'll compare it to, like, I Don't Know off Blizzard of Oz. Like that song hit hard. That was a great opening track off of Blizzard. Matter of fact, I think the formula on this album reminds me a lot of the formula that he used for I Don't Know in the track selection. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but like, wow, world, step back. Okay, there's a new kid in town that no one's ever heard of before, and his name is Jakey Lee. And then the video comes out, and you probably don't remember, but that video was on rotation, heavy. And at the time, that video was kick-ass. You watch it now, a little cheesy now, but at the time, it was incredible. Ozzy with the werewolf makeup and costume on, and then there's Jakey Lee with this lion's mane of black hair, just down, and his face was, you couldn't quite tell, is he Asian? What is this guy?
Right.
You couldn't quite make him out. And he had those beautiful Charvel guitars, and he's just laying it down. It's like, talk about a tailor-made rock star. I mean, he's like on that John Sykes level. Like this, he was created to be a rock star, And I mean, the album just takes off and punches you in the face right from the get-go, and just the train keeps rolling from there.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about the video. Video, like you said, at the time, that video was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You have the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing. He's a scientist, takes the potion from the werewolf, and he's running from the werewolf near the end. A couple of notes from that. Is there a guitar in this video? Is that guy holding a guitar in this video?
Boy, I haven't watched it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Don's got the old guitar out.
He's got a guitar in there. You go back and look at it. He's got a guitar on him.
Oh my. Don Harry with the worst haircut ever in rock and roll, unfortunately.
And I have to look. Was this video after Thriller?
Ooh.
Let me look.
I want to say it's after. I want to say it's before Thriller. Definitely not before Billie Jean or Beat It off the same record. But Thriller might have been after, because that one got bashed a lot for all the supernatural stuff in it. I mean, I remember the controversy around that whole thing, and not to segue too far off the beaten path, I freaking love that song, and I love that video. Whenever it comes on, I'm glued to the TV.
They may have been around the same time. I'm looking at the Thriller video. That was released December 2nd, 1983.
Oh wow, okay.
The Bark at the Moon video. Wow, when was that released?
All that tells me is I'm a lot older than I think I am, because I'm a lot older than I think I am, because I would have sworn that video didn't come out till I was until maybe ninth, or so my ninth grade years were 83 and 84. I thought they came out well after my freshman year of high school, but it probably was before Bark, if that was the date, because if Bark didn't drop till December 10th, the video probably came out after. So
yeah. So but that they had to be working on that about the same time that Thriller was coming. That Thriller had already been done, but yeah. Is Freddie Mercury the doctor at the end? when he goes when he gets released, because he gets
Oh
released.
yeah,
The guy looks like Freddie Mercury. When
right.
I thought, I was like, that Freddie Mercury? But no, of course it's not. That guy could pass for it. But all right.
Funny.
Of course, Bark at the Moon will be number one for both of us.
Yep.
And see if somebody can unseat that from number one.
Okay.
Number two.
Or
no different. The intro.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, when I heard it, and this is I've got, like I said, I'll tell people all the time, I've got so much useless information in my head that, they were like, how do you remember crap like that?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, and I'll have to put a clip up of it if I can find it. NFL Films used to do like highlight videos of the season every year. And we had an old RCA video disc player, and we had one of those seasons on, and there was a intro. There was a part of that where it sounds almost exactly like the intro to You're No Different.
Really?
Almost. And if I can find it, I'll put it up there. I'll send it to you and let you go. Yeah, it's heavy on keyboard. Is this the first heavy on keyboards album for Ozzy like this? I mean, I remember it a little bit on like Diary, maybe a little bit on Blizzard, but does this seem like a lot more keyboards than those two albums?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, clearly there was keyboards on Blizzard, clearly on Diary, but they weren't as dominant as they are on this song. They were, because Randy's guitar was so overpowering that the keyboards just kind of like complemented him in the back. This one is a keyboard dominated. Without the keyboards in the song, it's not the same song.
Yeah, I agree. I love the chorus. This is one that's grown on me over the years. He's talking about, I guess he's talking about, I've gone through a lot, but guess what? We both put our pants on two legs at a time. You're no different than me.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this? I go to you a lot for the musical part of it, but what's your thoughts on this song?
I'll say this. I love the song. I hate the placement on the album. And I'll tell you why. A number of years ago, I had an opportunity to work with a guy in Nashville for a short period of time who was a master at creating set lists for bands. Okay. And his mentality was, for a live show, you hit them, then you soften them up. Because most people's ears can't take too loud of a volume for more than 2 or 3 songs in. So his thing was, punch him in the face first song, punch him in the face second song, maybe third song you mellow out a little bit, and by fourth song you're into a full-on ballad. This song, like I said, I love it. I just don't like where it was placed. I thought it was a little bit. Because you come out with Bark at the Moon, and like, wow, you just blew me back out of my chair. Now knock me out. Now give me the next one. Like, we'll get to it. I would have flip-flopped the next two, but we'll get to that next.
I was getting ready to say I would flip-flop.
I'd have flip-flopped too.
Maybe the formula wasn't exactly out yet, as what the 80s rock bands would do. It wasn't as concise, I'll say, as it came to be later on. Like you said, you'd lead off an album with this just blasting song, a good driving riff. Then you'd have another one like that. Maybe, like you said, maybe the third or fourth song you go ballad. And you knew every 80s rock band, after Home Sweet Home, every 80s rock band was going to have a ballad somewhere on that album.
Yeah.
Unless it was something like thrash, and even some of the thrash ones went later on and did ballads. But And I could see, I don't know if he wrote this or not, but I could actually see Ozzy kind of writing the lyrics to this song a little bit, maybe contributing a little bit to this one.
I could too. I could too. And yeah, back to the 1-2 punch. If you think about the first 2 albums, I Don't Know into Crazy Train, bam, doesn't get any better than that. Over the Mountain into Flying High Again, bam, you're rocked. And then look at the next song on the first album, Goodbye to Romance. Now we softened you up. On Diary, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, mellow, brought you down. So I just back to that formula. But no, I think the lyrics to this song will hit home with anybody, because I think we've all been judged of different things at different times in our lives and accused of things, and that always hurts, and you feel that angst in this song. What's really cool with this one is, okay, so all right, Jakey Lee, all right, Bark at the Moon, we heard you shred like a monster, but now we're hearing this nice tasty, this isn't a Jake is not a one-trick pony. He's not like an Yngwie Malmsteen who just shreds and shreds and shreds and shreds and shreds, and very, very rarely shows any kind of, at least in my opinion, feeling or emotion in his playing. In this, now we're hearing, wow, this guy hits all the right notes. And like a guy once told me, it's not always the notes that you play, it's the notes that you don't play. And he just hits them all. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a really cool bridge that just keeps on building and building and building. Just enough keyboards to keep the song cool.
Right.
And that outro lead, wow. Just wow. And for my ears, I hear a little Randy in there. I hear a little bit of Randy in there, especially this that last thing he does as the song kind of fading out. I'm like, wow, that's something that Randy would have played, So I like I said, I love the song. I just don't like the placement on the album.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. So does this song unseat Bark at the Moon at number 1 for you?
It does not.
Either. We'll leave that. You're no different at number 2 right now.
Yep.
All right. Number 3. Now you see it, now you don't. Daisley said, and this is what I wanted to talk. I was talking to you about. You told me not to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Lyrics were aimed at Sharon, who fired him in 1981, and he was surprised that she let it remain on the album.
Wow.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised myself if she had a clue that was the case. Then how in the world did she let this get on the album? She must not have known. The second verse, started the second verse, the little sound effects. I felt like Jason was coming out of the woods somewhere. It was like a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I could have done without that.
Okay.
And then the little voices at the end that they throw in are, I mean, he's doing these little, I don't know what he's saying at the end. Yes. That I probably could have dealt without that, but not a bad song. I wouldn't skip it. But what's your thoughts on Now You See It, Now You Don't?
Okay, before we decided to do this Bark at the Moon review, I can tell you I have not listened to this album all the way through. I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said in over 30 years. I mean, literally, other than hearing Bark on Sirius, that's on rotation a lot,
Right.
And they're starting to play a couple other songs off there on rotation. I haven't heard any of these songs in forever. All right. I forgot this song existed. Okay. I totally forgot about it. And I came on, it's almost like hearing it for the first time all over again and loving it. That intro riff is so Sabbath-like to me. That's like, wow, that is just killer. And I think the groove on the pre-chorus is amazing. And then after hearing the song, it's so funny because there's like any guitar player, I'd warm up with a lot of different stuff before you played a show or a practice or whatever. I stole so much stuff out of this song that I didn't realize I stole until I heard the song again. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been playing that for years. That's where I stole that from, particularly that build before that. I've been playing that for years and thinking I made it up. I didn't make it up. I took that, I kind of like that. I think it's kind of because it's such a funny like Ozzy thing to do because he's such a character, Wow, talk about a face melting guitar solo. He just lays this thing down and just wow, just another punch in the face from Jake. And that outro stuff you were talking, that vamping, I got Suicide Solution vibes. As that's fading out.
Yes.
It's very, very similar to that. So again, I'm hearing some analogies or comparisons to the first record. But I love this song. Love it.
Right.
Like I love it. Yeah.
And listen to these lyrics and see if this was in the chorus. He says, "Now you see it, now you don't. Careful of words that get caught in your throat. Face the music, take it like a man, giving it to me any way you can."
Way that you can.
Anyway, it's one of the lines in here that just doesn't fit, but there's got to be some kind of hidden meaning with this.
Yeah.
Near the end, give me central heating, hope that I can pay the bill.
Give me central. Yeah. Well, you know, Ozzy likes to use analogies and comparisons. You got to make you think a little bit. You know.
But did Ozzy write that?
I don't think he did. I think Bob Daisley wrote it. Yeah, I don't think he did.
Bob Daisley. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bob Daisley wrote that. I mean, Bob Daisley is a brilliant lyricist. I mean, look at Diary. I mean, that album's just like wow, you know. So no, I you know, it was funny because before when we decided to do this, I was doing some research myself, and I wanted to kind of have notes on who wrote what. And I go there and says, oh, all songs written by Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, okay, great, okay, sure.
Well,
sure.
And I mean, you need to go no further in thinking of it might be about Sharon than the opening line: "Overbearing woman making it so hard for me." Did we lose Joe? You there?
Uh-oh. No, I'm
I
here.
hear
Can
you.
You hear me?
I hear you. You're froze, but I hear you. There you're moving around.
You were froze for a little bit. Okay, yeah, you were froze for a second there too, but you're back.
Okay. Yeah, but overbearing woman making it so hard for me. So yeah, it might have been about Sharon. All right. So I like You're No Different a little bit better than this song. So I'm gonna leave it at 1, 2, 3 right now, just like it is. But I'm sure you've got a different order now.
I do. Now you see it took the top spot. So now now Bark and You're No Different.
Wow. So now you see it goes to number 1.
It sure does.
All right. So here we go. Rock and Roll Rebel. Number 4.
Rock and Roll.
Jakey Lee. I mean, let me just say this about this album. As far as a debut album for a guitar player, except for Randy Rhoads, I mean, how lucky has Ozzy been to get these guitar players that he's got? I mean,
insane.
You get Blizzard of Oz, the freaking. I mean, that puts Randy Rhoads. I mean, I'm sure his name was out there a little bit. Of course, I wasn't really following that much at the time when Blizzard came out, but to hear hit on a debut album, to hear hits work like that, and then Jakey Lee's on this one. I mean, Jakey Lee is like I mean, I don't know if you call him unsung, but like I say the MVP of this album because he puts it right out there. And this song is one of them that, you know, Ozzy's just saying I'm a rock and roll rebel. You know, I'm going against the grain. I'm doing things that you wouldn't think a rock and roll guy would do, but I'm setting the bar here. I'm a rock and roll rebel, but Jakey Lee's riffs, oh my gosh, there's no wonder. I'd say, would I have been a bigger Ozzy fan if I had started on Bark at the Moon? I would have been a huge Jakey Lee fan too, just as huge as if I'd have started on Bark at the Moon, wherever the Ultimate Sin. But yeah, Jakey Lee kills it on this song.
He does, and I'm going to make a really bold statement. I mean, for this to be a debut album for a guitar player, this goes up there for me into the realms of Blizzard of Oz, Welcome Randy Rhoads, to the first Van Halen album. You know, when all of a sudden these virtual unknowns, except maybe in their little community, or they're part of the world at the time, but this is up there with that for me. For this to be a debut album for this guitar player is just phenomenal. What a great opening riff, great killer opening guitar solo, and to me, the lyrics in this song, this one I think Ozzy had a big hand in, because to me, this is Ozzy's FU to the press.
Yeah,
you know, that's how I judge this thing. You know, because like you mentioned earlier when we first started, this was the days of the Satanic Panic. You know,
yes.
Now, I don't think Ozzy did himself any favors by a lot of the lyrics in the Black Sabbath songs. I think the album cover from Diary probably set him back a while. I love that album cover, but when you're hanging upside down crosses on album covers and looking like a monster, you're gonna get somewhat pigeonholed into a certain perspective. But that whole line about you think I worship the devil,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But love the pre-chorus. Jake is all over this song. I mean, he is just hitting it from every angle. I like to see what the guitar solo is just wow. Just I have no words for that other than just wow. I think that the way that it kind of ends is exactly who Ozzy is. I'll give you no bullshit and I'll never pretend. That's Ozzy. That's him. Those two lines sum up, I think, him exactly. He's always been very real with who he is, and love me or hate me, this is who I am. So, love this song. Absolutely love this song.
Yeah, I know the last line of the second verse. Do what you will to try and make me conform. I'll make you wish you had never been born.
Never been born. Yeah.
They say I worship the devil. They must be stupid or blind. Like you said earlier. I mean, yeah, I can see Ozzy doing this song. This is one of those songs I can see Ozzy doing. But yeah, Rock and Roll Rebel. All right. Where does that move up on the list for you?
Okay, so the new ranking now, we're still number 1 stays the same. Number 2 stays the same. This moves into number 3.
Oh wow.
Yep, and with You're No Different now being at number 4.
I'm getting no love for my You're No Different. I'm keeping right now. I'm gonna keep it in order 1, 2, 3, 4 as it comes right now. But it may change in a few minutes. But
okay.
So number 5. So we're on side 2. If you're on a vinyl record, Center of Eternity. Starts out with the bells. It kind of gets like you talked about that Sabbath feel earlier for you and with the guitar, but this just the sound of it at the first, it gave me a Sabbath vibe. Excited. The intro was eerie. The long intro with keyboards, and I love that riff, that opening riff. The chorus. Center up when he journeyed to this. I felt like nothing against the song, but I felt like when I heard the chorus, I was getting ready to watch an 80s TV show.
Yes.
It was like, you remember the Land of the Lost TV show that used to come on with the.
Of course I do. Yeah.
I felt like this chorus could have fit the Land of the Lost. They could have called it, instead of Land of the Lost, they could have called it Center of Eternity, and this song would have fit it perfect.
Of
Of course,
I could picture them going down that cheesy waterfall with that looking raft that was so horrible.
Exactly.
With this song.
It's not bad. Not one of my favorites on the album, but it's not bad. But yeah, that chorus just got me. I was like, this is an 80s TV show intro right here. Of course, Jake's all over it again. Like I said, I love that riff. What's your thought on Center of Eternity?
I kind of like yourself that opening. Again, I'm going to just draw some comparisons back to Blizzard. Kind of a Mr. Crowley type opening with a little bit spooky, a little bit weird. I don't love it. I thought though that this may have made a very cool opening track for his tour, for the bar.
Oh yeah, tour. Yeah, that would be, yeah.
I thought it would have been very cool. And as a matter of fact, so listen to this. So I pulled up the set list from that tour. Okay. Just because I was just curious if this song even made the cut to be on the tour. And like any tour, a couple of things changed in and out here and there, but it seemed like the dominant set list that he played on that tour was, I Don't Know, Mr. Crowley, Rock and Roll Rebel, Bark at the Moon, Revelation, Steal Away the Night, Suicide Solution, Center of Eternity. right there.
Oh, wow.
Drum solo, Flying High again, Iron Man, Crazy Train, ends with Paranoid as has been status quo forever and ever and ever with Ozzy.
Yeah.
What shocked me was you're touring behind a new album and you're only doing 3 songs off the new album.
That's true.
You know,
That's what I was looking at that too.
Yeah, you do 3 songs, and I don't even think you did other than Rock and Roll Rebels, strong, Bark of the Moon, strong, Center of Eternity. Other than that being an opening song for a concert, that placement's really, really weird for me.
It is,
but it's really weird. I don't love fast choruses. I don't love when singers sing too fast. It's just too much for me. But I love that you thought forever and ever. You know, the pre-chorus is totally, totally cool. And I do love the chorus. And like you said, Jakey Lee again, what more can you say? Just crushing it. Crushing it.
So I'm looking, you got me curious now, at songs that were played. You know, it's got a typical set list. Then it's got songs that were played on the tour. Maybe not every, you know, they got played maybe once or twice, but not every night. I'm looking, Over the Mountain was on there. Then they have, let's see. Okay, student, So Tired.
Yeah. I think they added that after the video came out.
Probably, I would think so. Looking to see what the differences are with and I don't see. Well, it's got to be some difference because there's 50. Goodbye to Romance was added onto the encore.
You know, I would love to find a live version of that from this tour to hear what Jake does with that solo, because that's one of my favorite Randy Rhoads guitar solos ever, and I'm sure he plays it. Gives Randy the credit for that and plays it pretty much exactly as written. But I'd like to hear what his little spin is he may have put on it. I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah,
it's probably hard to find.
Yeah. All right, so where does this rank for you? Because I'm leaving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm kind of boring right now.
Let me go back 1 second though. I saw this tour live.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yes. I was in 9th grade, and this was the Bark the Moon tour with the openings being Motley Crue on the Shout tour.
Oh, I mean, wow!
And the stories you hear about that now of what the just absolute debauchery that went on behind the scenes. I mean, you know, it's well documented in Dirt by Motley Crue and, you know, various other Ozzy things. But yeah, I was I was in 9th grade, and I was very, very fortunate to go, and it was amazing. And after that concert, Jakey Lee became my new favorite guitar player, you know, at the time. He definitely did, because after Randy, it was Jake, George Lynch, and Warren DeMartini.
Yeah.
Those were my top 3, and all from California, all very much the same. And then it continued to be Jake, because I was fortunate enough also to later on see George Lynch live and Warren DeMartini live. And though they were both really, really good, I thought Jake was still much better than the both of them in a live setting. He was more true to form, you know. But anyway, as far as the song goes, like you said, I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's okay for me.
Yeah.
And that one definitely stays that's last. So we're still looking. That's gonna be number 5.
Okay, I'm looking here. Was DeMartini and Jakey Lee and Rat at the same time?
I think they were.
I think they were. Yes, they were. 81.
Yeah.
1981, they were there because DeMartini joined in 81. Jakey Lee was known as Jakey Lou Williams, I guess. Well, that's his real. I don't know if that's his real name or not, but yeah. Right. Can you imagine that? I mean, it was one thing with Robert Crosby and DeMartini. Can you imagine Jakey Lee and Warren DeMartini in the same band trading riffs?
You know, I wasn't a huge Robin Crosby fan. I mean, I appreciated him for what he did. Him to me was more of a blues player than the LA, you know, flash player like Jake and George Lynch and Randy and Eddie Van Halen, you know. That would have been a beautiful lineup to see. You know, a Jake and Warren DeMartini lineup, because you know, I remember hearing once when George Lynch was going to be trying out for Ozzy's band after Randy died. he thought he was getting the spot. And I remember reading articles where him and Warren DeMartini sat there and learned all the songs together for George to go try out. So I'm just picturing those guys back in the day, back before tablature and you had to actually ear stuff out, them sitting there together in a room, literally learning all Randy's solos and songs. That had been a man, if there had been a fly on the wall for that'd have been amazing.
Definitely. So I've been pretty boring with my rankings so far, so we'll get to it.
Okay.
Number 6, and here comes the ballad. Here comes So Tired. A lot of hate for this ballad. A lot of people don't like Ozzy singing slow stuff. I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind Ozzy singing slow stuff. I just if his voice fits the song, it's kind of like Ace. If his voice fits the song, then I have no problem with it. And to me, I like it. I do like So Tired. I mean, I liked it when it came out, and of course, you know that he's so tired of waiting around for somebody. Evidently, somebody he's involved with is already involved with somebody else, and he's telling them, "I'm tired of waiting for you. Tomorrow's too late. I'm tired of this crap. I'm out of here." So hit the road, hit the bricks. That's what he should have said. But I do like So Tired. I don't get the hate for it. It's not a typical Ozzy song, but Sharon was sitting back there when they did this album saying, "Look, we gotta, as much as she loves, and I'll get into it with this when we talk about the video too. We got to do something slow, like Goodbye to Romance was, but we got to do something like a ballad. That's where it's going today. Like I said, not bad. And once again, the guitar solo. What can you say about Jakey Lee though? The guitar solo is great on this. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts on this is I think that they were one of my favorite Ozzy songs. I just kind of lent into it is Goodbye to Romance. I love that song. It's for me, it's a tearjerker. It's so beautiful. I think they were trying to get lightning to strike twice. Let's go for a ballad here. I don't think it's anywhere near the level of a Goodbye to Romance, but I don't hate it. I think that once again, Jake's solo is just so tasteful. I mean, it's just especially that one bend after the initial start. It's just like that's what I was saying earlier. That's that note. Yeah, just one note will break your heart. Just that one note. I really hated it when I first heard it. Like when I was, I'm a 13, 14-year-old kid. Home Sweet Home isn't a thing yet. Ballads aren't really a thing yet. And then what made it even worse, I remember Ozzy being on, remember the show Solid Gold?
Oh God, I watch it every week.
Okay. So I remember Ozzy being so excited that I'd heard Ozzy was going to be on Solid Gold, and they do this song. And I'm like, oh Lord,
But that was Sharon though.
Of course.
She's just one of the things about like when you watch the Osbourne's reality show, you see Sharon's pulling the strings. Sharon's making the decisions. Ozzy just goes along so he doesn't have to deal with it. But she's the brains behind the talent.
Yeah, she's the brains behind the talent. She's ruling the roost. I get it. She's a clearly a incredibly brilliant businesswoman. Look what she's done. So yeah, it's just okay for me. It's after not hearing this song for 30 years. I could go 30 more without hearing it again.
Let's talk about the video a little bit.
Okay.
And this has Sharon written all over it too.
Yeah.
Ozzy is a stage performer,
and
he's doing all these. Well, I guess it starts off with the guy going to bed, Ozzy going to bed, and he's we don't know it at the time, but he's dreaming, I guess, that he's a stage performer and he's doing all what Quasimodo is one of them, and it's just 3 or 4 different characters. And you know what? Actually, Ozzy has in this video, this is one of the best looking Ozzy as far as rock look that Ozzy had before. Ultimate Sin, everybody said he went glam and all this, but this one, he looked healthy. He looked, he looked like a rock star.
He did.
But and you look at the different characters. This you see later on, like when he would be filming, like on the Osbourne's reality show, he would be filming these different vignettes with he's dressed up like Christina Aguilera from the
Yeah.
Sweet Lady Marmalade thing, and then he's dressed up like a woman again, eating a banana and all this stuff. It's stuff like that. You see this earlier on with the So Tired video. It's not. I think with me, the reason I like this song a little bit better than you do, because I went backwards, and after Home Sweet Home was out, you're looking at each album for like, where's the ballad at? Where's the ballad at? The ballad's going to be the big hit probably.
Yes.
And you're looking for it. That's why I probably like it a little bit more than you do. I'm not saying this is one I love. I'm not putting it above Goodbye to Romance by any means, but it's not bad. But I mean, the video's silly. It's just really silly. I mean,
yeah.
But
it's Ozzy. It's Ozzy being, the lovable character that we've grown to love, for all these years.
It kind of reminds me of when Van Halen did Pretty Woman.
Oh yeah.
The video for that, when they were doing all the different characters. It's got that kind of feel to it. But
agreed.
Right. So I'm guessing So Tired is going to stay at the bottom of your list.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm going to put it above The Land of the Lost. I mean, Center of Eternity.
Okay. Okay.
So it moves to number 5 for me.
Okay.
All right. So let me get my stuff right here so I don't mess up. Number 7, Slow Down.
Slow down.
Slow down. Your haste is making waves. Yeah, this is one of those heavy keyboard songs.
Yeah.
The chorus, I do like the chorus. This, like you, except for like the hits or the singles of this, I have not listened to this entire album until we started talking about doing this. I mean, I have listened to it with my album child. That was, matter of fact, when was that? I listened to this. That's been 3 years ago, excuse me, that I listened to this one.
Wow.
So this was the first time in 3 years I've listened to it, and I've listened to it multiple times to get ready for this. But this song was a lot better than what I remembered it being. And then the repeat at the end, the repeat race at the end. Race.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's different, but I guess that was part of the time back then. But yeah, not a bad song. It's a lot better than I remember. I know it's like we said, we're saying a lot here, heavy on keyboards with this one too. But what's your thoughts on Slow Down?
I like it. It to me, it was like, I almost think it may have been a filler to throw one in there, but it's got a poppy sound. And again, to draw some comparisons to Blizzard, to me, it's got kind of like a Steal Away the Night kind of vibe,
Yes, definitely.
I thought that song was kind of poppy. And then even to stretch it even further, I thought one of the most catchy, almost radio friendly songs that Black Sabbath ever had was Never Say Die, and it kind of reminds me of that kind of a thing. I like it. It's a cool song. Not a standout track, definitely a track. This one, bless you. This one kind of like Now You See It, Now You Don't. I had no it's like I'm hearing it for the first time. I had no recollection whatsoever in my brain of this song. But yeah, I like it. I think it's a cool song. I wouldn't skip it up on a shuffle. No, I like it.
You think this is kind of I don't know if this is another one. Maybe he could have wrote himself, or somebody wrote this kind of about Ozzy. Slow down, you're moving way too fast. Slow down, you'll never last. Slow down, your haste is making way. Slow down and join the human race. Yeah, I mean, Ozzy was so all over the place then. He had his abuse problems.
Yeah.
Maybe this was somebody, either him or somebody looking at Ozzy and say, hey, this is about you right here. Why do you ride to take a fall? burning the candle at both ends. It's true. You know the writing's on the wall, right? Why do you ride to take a fall? So
that's him, I think, talking about himself. Because picture when this was. I mean, again, we've the legendary Ozzy Motley Crue tour has been documented in so many places, and my gosh, I can't believe that the five of them, the four guys in Motley and Ozzy, even got out of this one alive. Because it sounds like, I mean, licking up piss. Like come on, really, like that. And the ants, and I mean, all the imagine the drugs. I mean, it's incredible that they all survived this thing. But I think those lyrics fit almost him perfectly.
And too, he's coming off losing his best friend, and maybe he's thinking, maybe I need to slow down. Maybe I need to slow down and think before I end up gone too.
But that's the whole thing too. Is like I think as we get older, time moves faster. But when we're younger, time seems to almost stand still. This is only a year and a half removed from Randy dying.
That's what I was amazed how quick this came back. All I can say is maybe Sharon pushed him. I'm sure she was upset too. Maybe not as upset as Ozzy, but maybe she was like, "Hey, we got to keep on going." And maybe that was the best thing for him too. And might have been best for him to get back to work as quick as he could, so he wouldn't bury himself in drugs and alcohol too much.
Well, yeah, and then in between, goes off and records a double live album doing old Black Sabbath songs. So I mean, okay, this thing drops in December '83, but you got to believe they started writing it several months before, and then recording it. Like I said, as a kid, a year and a half can feel like an eternity, but now as an adult, it feels like it's the blink of an eye. Like, so when I was researching the album again to go back, I'm thinking, damn, this came out in '83. This is like a year and 6 months after Randy died. It just seems so quick, Well,
you think about it too, they not only, doing the double live album, they had to find guitar players.
Yeah.
You got to find a guitar. They they go through what, 1, 2, Gillis, the first one, Gillis, and then, to get to Jakey Lee that we know of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a short time when you lose a big time band member of you, but maybe it might have been for the best for Ozzy.
All I could think of at this point in time, I'm sure he was a physical, mental, emotional wreck. Sharon had to have been driving the train on this to get this thing together, because I don't think he would have had mental capacity plus all of his abuses to have pulled this thing together. So once again, surround yourself with great people and you'll rise to the greatness. He surrounds himself with another killer guitar player, and 3 more amazing musicians. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this Max Norman that produced this?
Yes.
Okay, so bring him back into the fold, and he had to step up. He had no choice, because they would have just ran him right over, So kudos to him on this. So,
exactly. I mean, I can't say, I would have, to get back into the studio and do that again when you've lost somebody like that. That's that quick. That's got to be tough. Got to be tough.
Got to be just horrendous. So I'm glad we have this album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm moving. Slow down.
Okay.
Slow Down goes to number 4, right above Rock and Roll Rebel, and below Now You See It, Now You Don't.
Wow, you like this song. Okay.
Yeah, I do. I really do like this song. I was pleasantly surprised when I heard it again. The more I listened to it, when I listened to it multiple times, the more I liked it. So
you like me. You really, really
you
like me.
really like me. All right, where does this rank for you?
This goes ahead of So Tired and right behind Center.
Okay. All right. So the last song. Waiting for Darkness.
Oof.
Eerie start. There was a lot of eerie starts on this album. I love it when the intro, I guess that's the bass kicking in on the intro. but the noise, there's some kind of noise they do in the guitar solo
Mm-hmm.
that takes away from the guitar solo for me. I don't know.
It's like a car crash, a screeching car crash almost. Right?
Yes, I mean
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have to put that in there. I want to hear the guitar, so it's kind of like, gosh, what song was it that Kiss did that the guitar solo got? There was something in there that took away from the guitar, so I'll think it would bother me all day till I think of it. But anyway, yeah, that just takes away from me from the guitar solo, but not a bad song, but I wasn't that big of a fan for this one. I don't know about you.
You're gonna be shocked at my comments on this.
Oh, you love it.
Okay, so again, I said earlier I haven't really heard this thing. So I remember being at work one day and having maybe Ozzy, it must have been Ozzy's Boneyard, or I don't think I couldn't have been Hair Nation. And this song came on, and like my world froze because my ears were hearing something that was drawing on a memory from my brain, and I couldn't quite get what it was. So I pop up the screen quick on my computer to see what song it was, but it didn't happen that quickly because all of a sudden Ozzy's voice came in. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't heard this song in forever, and his voice on this thing is so haunting to me. I keep on doing this, but my comparison to this song off of Blizzard it's a stretch, but kind of Revelation Mother Earth, only because of that middle section.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that middle section of Revelation.
Yeah, I love now. When we get into Blizzard, Revelation Mother Earth is going to be a long, long story for me.
I love that song. I've always loved that song, and that whole middle section of this song was, for me, that's where I kind of drew a comparison. It's definitely a stretch, but that's what came to mind. Even just yesterday, I was trying to learn that is impossible to play. His picking hand is so quick, and it took me like an hour just to even get a little bit fluid with it. And so this song, this one and Bark are the two that I've heard the most over the last couple of years, just from listening to Sirius Satellite, because they don't play anything else ever off this album that I've ever heard on either Ozzy's Boneyard or Hair Nation. You'll hear Shot in the Dark off Ultimate Sin a lot, but these are the two. So I love this song. I love it. I go to this song so often, and I love singing it in my car. I love Ozzy's voice on this. I think it's just, especially the outro, the last verse, he changes it up a little bit, and that little change in the way he's enunciating the words, it's the same words, he just changes the way he says them. It gets me every time I hear it. I wait for that. I wait for that slight change. I love it. I freaking love this song so much. Yeah,
I'm looking at a website that I did some of the research on the songs, and it talks about the inspiration behind the song. It stems from Ozzy's personal struggles with addiction, depression, and societal pressures. The song reflects his journey to find meaning and acceptance within himself. So as much as we talk about, these other band members saying he didn't write hardly anything on this.
No,
I could see him writing 2 or 3 songs. We've talked about it. I could see 2 or 3 songs that he, excuse me, that he would have wrote up here.
It's such a shame because I think I've seen some recent stuff, interviews. Well, maybe not so recent because it's been canceled for a while. But I remember seeing Jakey Lee on That Metal Show.
Right. Yeah.
And he is so bitter. Like, he is still like bitter. And he's turned into that grumpy old man, and it's a shame because he's such a great talent. And where is he now? Where is this guy? I think he disappeared again. And what was funny is when he was on That Metal Show, he was raving about a band that I love today. A newer, well, they've been on about been around probably 10, 15 years, a newer metal band called In This Moment. I love that band. They're one of my favorites. Maria Brink, I think, is just one of the most amazing female vocalists. I've seen them in live a number of times. They put on an incredible show. It's a spooky show. It's almost like as a God-fearing man, I feel like I shouldn't be there because there's some stuff going on. That like, should I even be here? But it's pretty wild. And I don't know what his involvement is with them, but he was talking about them a lot. But the underlying tone I got after watching that was, wow, Jake, you're bitter. And maybe rightly so.
I mean, we'll get into when we do Ultimate Sin, we'll get more into the Jakey Lee saga with Ozzy and Sharon.
Yeah.
But because I remember after that, when they talked about Jakey Lee was gone, of course he goes to form the band Badlands after that. That I was like, gosh, no, Ozzy's not going to be the same without him. And then, okay, of course, there he goes again. He finds a unknown that ends up being a pretty decent guitar player, I would say. Don't you think so?
Yeah, out of the three, Randy, Jake, and Zach is definitely at the bottom for me. I mean, I as a guitar player myself, I could appreciate his talent. I just don't like it. I just don't. It's too much for me. It's just.
But you can't deny his love with guitar players has been like exceptional. I mean, all right.
And Zach is like we talked about earlier. Zach was built and created to be a rock star.
Oh yeah, but
that's what
we need to do a Zach picture in 1988 when he was on No Rest for the Wicked, and a Zach picture now, and you will say that's not the same person.
People say the Zach Wild of today ate the Zach Wild of 1988.
If anybody needed to be on that show Vikings, Zach Wild need to be on that show Vikings. He looks like a freaking Viking.
He did. Yeah.
Wow.
He does. Yeah. And you look at him from back when he was a kid. He's from somewhere here not too far, New Jersey, where I live now. I think he was down by a town called Jackson, which is where Six Flags is. But it was funny when I was in high school. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and some girls from New Jersey moved to my town in my senior year, and they were really pretty, so they stuck out. They were gorgeous. They had the big Jersey 80s hair, so they really stuck out. And I got to know them really well. And I never forget, we were at a party one day, and they had mentioned that they knew this new guitar player from Ozzy's band, Jeff Wilder. And I'm like, you guys are so full of crap. I said, I think they're lying. Okay. About 2 or 3 days later in school, they produce a picture, and there they are with him because they grew up in the same town with him. They were friends with him, when they were younger. Right. I'm like, okay, these girls weren't lying. So that was kind of like a little connection to Zach. But but anyway, that was a whole other rabbit hole. But anyway, back to Waiting for Darkness. Love it. Love it. Love it.
All right, where does this move up on the list for you?
Ding, ding,
ring
ding.
The bell.
Ring the bell, baby. This is right. It shoots to number one with a bullet. Number one with a bullet. Yeah.
So I'm going to put this right below Rock and Roll Rebel and right on top of So Tired.
Okay, that's fair.
So Center of Eternity ends up being dead last for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and look, not to say it's a bad song or anything. I liked all of these songs in one way or the other. Just when, some stuck out more than the other. I'm a big Ozzy fan. So, I mean, not as big as Kiss, but I'm a big Ozzy fan. But anyway, so, your final thoughts on Bark at the Moon.
Again, this is my childhood, man. I'm 13, 14 years old, reeling from the loss of my guitar hero, hearing about this album dropping, being so excited. I mean, I wish the kids of today could experience what the 80s were like and how exciting it was to go buy to go to the record store and actually hold an album in your hand and look at it and love it and analyze every little detail of it and turn it over and read all the song tracks and any little notes on the back of the thing, and just the excitement of going there and paying for it. So for me, this album's got a ton of nostalgia. I mean, I could picture myself, right now going to that Gallery of Sound in the Wyoming Valley Mall in Wilkes-Barre, PA, and buying this album. I love it. Like I said, I had a new favorite guitar player. After seeing him live, loved him even more. What more can I say? It's a fantastic album. I'm happy we got two with Jake, which we'll touch on. When we get down the line later on. I'm sad we only got two with Jake, but at least we got two. But this one, it's classic, and I'm glad we decided to do it because it was really nice to revisit like an old friend that I haven't listened to for 35 years.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I started with Ultimate Sin, and then going with my brother to his best friend's house, and that was when I first started getting into. I was always a Kiss fan, but getting into the more of the metal stuff, more of the hard rock stuff of the 80s, and going through his cassette tape collection, I was like, there's another Ozzy album I hadn't heard. And I looked at, and I was like kind of scared to ask him. I was like, so I got my brother and said, hey, see if he'll let me borrow this. And, and I can't remember. I can't remember if back then I had the double deck. You remember the double deck cassette tape thing where you could dub right from one thing to the other?
I had a boombox with the two in it. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
And there was one option I had on one of mine that you could do it. You could do it high speed.
Yes.
And it would do it faster.
Yes.
And it was almost like these people telling you, okay, go out there and copy tapes. I was like, why would you put this out there and sell it at a place like Sears if you didn't want us to freaking copy stuff? So,
I can't believe that record players, again, when that guy mentioned that to me, my friend at the store, we didn't know that you could go from a record player to record onto a cassette. We're like, what? You can do that? Like, holy cow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that was when I got that, buddy. I turned into I was getting the cassette tape, the looks like a suitcase. It was double-sided.
I remember
and I would carry that, like when we go to baseball, football, basketball games, I'd have my boombox, and I'd have my I had to bring it or people would be upset. I was a DJ on the bus. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah, I had to bring all that. He said, well, you got to bring this. I said, y'all got to stop this. I got to make a cassette just to make you guys happy. But
right.
So listen to this after Ultimate Sin was really cemented my, okay, I've got to get more Ozzy. I was more into Ozzy after that than anything. Bark at the Moon, of course, it's going to be ranked number one right now for us because this is the only one we've done so far. But we will be doing the entire discography, like we said, except for the studio discography, not the live. We'll talk about all of the stuff with Ozzy. Wow. Anything on your mind before we get out of here, Joe?
I was just thinking, like, it's going to be interesting when we do the whole discography because I have my experience with the Zakk Wylde years is slim to none, other than the video songs, or the radio songs. Of course, like Mom Coming Home and Miracle Man, stuff like that. No, man, I'm looking forward to going down the Ozzy path. I'm a huge Ozzy fan as well. Again, he's been part of my growing up. He's like the Eddie Van Halen, all the icon, like Kiss. He's a part of my childhood, and it's really, it's like I said, it's kind of like going back and like, I don't know if you get this feeling, but when I go back and listen to an album, like my brain just goes back to me being that kid, who just bought that thing when they were so young.
Yeah.
And that's what this one did for me. It was a pleasure, and I've been listening to it a lot ever since. Thoughts on Bark? Gosh, wow! Just welcome to America, introducing Mr. Jakey Lee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what a debut for him. Anything you're listening to this week that you that stuck out to you?
Other than Bark
at the Moon.
Other than Bark at the Moon, I listen to a lot of newer metal bands. I listen to Octane. on Sirius.
Okay.
And there's some good stuff out there. I mean, I'm always a person. I like a melody. I like a hook. Even in my metal music. And there's a band called Bad Wolves that I have really locked onto. I really enjoy them a lot. They've got a lot of good stuff out there. And they're one of those, like, they're more of a hardcore band, but they've got a nice hook to their stuff. So I listen to that. Other than that, it's just, for me, status quo. If it's not Kiss, it's the Eagles.
Right. I got you.
Or Octane. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. We talked many times on the podcast. I do the album challenge, and I'm not the biggest Judas Priest fan.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Judas Priest, Invincible Shield. That's pretty good. That even for me, I go into it like, okay, this is gonna be the same, but that was pretty good. And guys, I'm all over the place with what I listen to. I listen to country, I listen to R&B, I listen to all of it. Cody Jinks, country music artist, new album, Change the Game, freaking awesome. If you guys are into that kind of stuff, check out Cody Jinks. Bruce Dickinson's new album. Have you heard that one yet?
You know what? It's funny. So, on Facebook, people are mentioning Bruce Dickinson and Judas Priest new albums in the same sentence. Like being like, hey, you got to check both these out. I haven't heard it yet. Maybe today while I'm messing around. But as far as the Priest album goes, that first song I heard off that was that Crown of Horns, Crown of Thorns, whatever it is. Damn.
Yeah.
Like,
and
wow.
It's like that throughout the whole album, dude. And that just proves my point too, that these guys can still do it. People still want to hear the older guys, like from the 80s and stuff, do new music. It's met with really good reception. But on the downside, what was this one I listened to that I was like, oh my gosh,
not good.
You'll probably get on me. Cheap Trick's debut album.
You're digging it, or you're not?
Self-titled. I couldn't get into it, and I like Cheap Trick, but and this is the first time I've listened to the self-titled album.
What's the singles off that one? I'm not a huge. I know the Cheap Trick big songs, but I don't know.
Let me pull it up for you. But another one that I'm kind of digging and I'm not through with yet. Blackberry Smoke. You ever heard of them?
There's wait, okay. I just added a song from them, I think, to my favorites on Spotify.
The new album is called Be Right Here.
I'm pretty sure I'm sorry. I'm we're close. I'm looking at Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah, look, somebody. It's funny you say that. Blackberry Smoke. What's the other one? Black something Union Revival or something like that.
Yeah.
You might want to check out them.
Okay.
Some of the songs on the Cheap Trick album. All right, this was released in April of '77. The only single on that was "Oh Candy." Here's the songs on there: "Hello Kitties."
Okay.
"Daddy Should Have Stayed in High School."
Okay.
"Taxman, Mr. Thief."
Okay.
"Cry Cry." Okay, of course we talked about "Oh Candy." "Hot Love." "Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace." "He's a Whore."
He's a whore. Okay.
Manicello. And then ended with the Ballad of TV Violence. I'm Not the Only Boy.
I don't recognize a single track off of that.
And look, the rankings up here. All Music gave it 5 stars. Record Mirror gave it 4. Rolling Stone gave it 4. Which, if Rolling Stone gave it, no wonder I didn't like it.
There you go.
Spin Alternative Record Guy gave it 10 out of 10, and I'm like, what? What am I missing here? But anyway, I like Cheap Trick later on. Not, and I'm not just talking about the 80s.
Yeah.
But I liked after this because I was like kind of excited to listen to it for the first time, but then I said, no, I'm not that excited about it afterwards. But anyway.
No, I tell you, I don't know if you've ever watched the show. Here's something cool. Have you ever seen the show At Daryl's House, like Daryl Hall?
Yeah. Yes.
Cheap Trick was on there, and man, they pulled out some deep cuts that I'd never heard, and wow, like that was one of my more favorite episodes of. Then there's been a number of episodes of that show that I thought were just incredible. Just. I mean, Todd Rundgren was on there. CeeLo Green was on there. I thought he was.
Yeah, all right. That's what I was getting ready to say. CeeLo.
Oh, CeeLo.
Chris Daughtry was on there one time.
Oh,
too.
Daughtry was incredible on there. Yeah, there was some good stuff from Cheap Trick. But let me tell you, you know whose house I want to go live in for about a week?
Who's that?
Steve Wright.
Oh yeah, the Steve Wright from the Potter Than Hell. I Remember Now Queensryche podcast.
I said to him the other day, because he often posts what he's spinning, for the night, and I messaged him. I'm like, dude, you have a vinyl collection that I would kill someone to get a hold of. I mean, just these past couple days, he goes from Rush Moving Pictures, which I'm not a huge Rush fan, but I'll listen to that one. Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, Maiden, Number of the Beast, into Great White debut album. Gary Moore, Victims of the Future. Gary Moore is the most unknown, underrated guitar player on the face of the earth. I've loved him since I was 13 years old, and no one knows who he is, unfortunately, whenever I bring him up. Who? Gary who? Vinnie Vincent, the debut, And that's just in this past couple of days. I'm like, dude, I want all those albums,
I thought I saw a Slaughter album up
there.
There
was a Slaughter.
Yeah. Steve is definitely, if you guys have not checked out the Potter and the Hill podcast, they are always coming up with interesting ideas. And it's a great podcast. You guys need to check it out. It also does, if you're a Queensryche fan, does the I Remember Now podcast too, which is good. You have to check Steve out. Steve's a good friend. He's been on the show a couple of times. But all right.
All right.
That's going to do it for this week, guys. And we will be back soon. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with another show. But we'll, maybe it'll be a couple weeks before we do another Ozzy album. We have to decide which album we're going to do and give it its just time so we can listen to it over and over again.
Yeah.
But who knows what will be next on Ozzy? We'll let you know. You'll see when the time gets here. Joe, thank you so much, buddy. Enjoyed it.
My pleasure. A lot of fun.
All right, guys. We will see you next time on The Fly.